Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 8, and we have an interesting video. So we are led to believe that there are 20 episodes for this season of The Flash, after initially heading into this season believing that there were only going to be 18 episodes, but that is due to a couple of different things that have been said by cast and crew that, push it up to 20, as well as the fact that filming was extended for a couple or more weeks from the original, schedule for this season. So due to that, this week's upcoming episode is the 10th of the season, so it should mark the halfway point of the season. Of course, we are 2 episodes deep, or just in, to the newest storyline for the season, revolving around this mysterious villain that's burning people and just a bit all over the place and feeding off grief, known as the Black Flame. And what we will be going over in today's video partially, does with the conclusion of that current storyline, or this current storyline we're in, as well as the next stage or phase of this season and potentially what's happening there. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts, theories, predictions, everything like that about everything we go over in this video, because I'm sure these are the type of videos that get your brain ticking. I'm still trying to process some of the stuff and what it could mean, so I'm always curious to read what you guys are thinking as well. And also let me know which one of these you're looking forward to the most also, because I want to know what you're looking forward to. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and just want to show support and are looking forward to any or all of this stuff, why not drop a like on the video to do all that? So in this video, we are going to be going over the next bunch of episode titles for this season of The Flash, that being 5 episodes worth. Now, as per usual, when we do this type of stuff, we will include any or all information that we know so far about each of these episodes. So due to that, I guess minus spoilers when it comes to some of them, though there is really nothing majorly spoilery about any of the stuff that we will include, because most of it was really well known. So I don't think there's anything here that would be unknown to a lot of people and that is really spoilery and would, ruin the episode for you. So we're going to be going through episodes 12 through to 16 for this season. We already knew up to what episode 11 is, and so these are the next 5. I think usually we only get them in bunches of 3 or 4, so we're getting 5 this time, so I guess that's the more the better, the more the merrier. So let's not waste any more time. So jumping into it, episode 12 of this season is otherwise entitled Death Rises. Now, the only thing we really know about this episode is that this is the second episode that Ronnie Raymond is meant to be in, and it's also meant to be his last episode. His first being episode 11, which we're only, under 2 weeks away from now. So this episode itself is only, a few episodes away as well. Now, obviously, the title is fairly interesting, of Death Rises. It makes you go, well, who is Death specifically, and where and how is it going to rise? But it gets more interesting when we look at the next episode title. Of course, we just did episode 12. So this is episode 13 for this season, and the episode is otherwise entitled Death Falls. So episode 12 is Death Rises, episode 13 is Death Falls, and this would make you believe, okay, this must be the 2-part finale. I don't think it is, and we'll get to what I think that is soon enough. And when I say finale, not for the entire season, but for the current storyline we're in. But of course, one big question is about Eddie Thawne. We don't know when he's coming in, and we know he's coming in for multiple more episodes. So at the very least, he's there for 2 more episodes. So maybe he's introduced in episode 12 alongside Ronnie, or maybe it's in this episode as well. I'm not too sure, but the episode titles do get you very curious. So even though it might not be a 2-part, quote unquote finale, it could be 2 episodes that, play off each other very well, like we've seen in the past, especially when you look back at those, even last in season 6 and stuff like that, when they were, season 6 in season 2, I think I'm thinking of, where we had the Earth 2 episodes and they played off each other, and they weren't called part 1 and part 2 like we've had in season 6 and season 7 and stuff like that. They were just episodes that sounded similar and played off each other, but weren't called part 1 and part 2. So maybe that's what we're getting here with episodes 12 and 13, and it makes you wonder whether it's going to be almost feel like one really, really long episode just over 2 weeks. So that sort of gets me excited, even though we don't really know anything about them outside of the fact that Ronnie's in episode 12. But here's where we get to the interesting part. So episode 14 for this season is otherwise entitled funeral for a friend. Now, I don't know if this is like overly relevant to what's actually happening in the episode. I think it is, and we'll get to why that is in a second. But the title of Funeral for a Friend is most likely a reference to the Superman storyline that followed the death of Superman and sort of the reaction worldwide around it. So here is the cover for that. Some of you might have seen that cover before, even if you can't recall that storyline title or just the storyline in general. So yeah, it could be a reference to that, or it's a bit of both to, you know, what's going to be happening in this actual episode. But a funeral for a friend. So is it Eddie's funeral? We know he's in a couple of episodes this season. We never actually got to see Eddie's funeral, or even I don't think Ronnie's funeral in the show. So maybe it could be Eddie's funeral or Ronnie's funeral, or maybe both. Or it could just be for someone on Team Flash that's there. Now, the big issue that goes against that, in thinking that it could be someone from Team Flash, is that we know that Chester, Allegra, Cecile, they're all still on the show. And we know that like Caitlin is still on the show. Not too sure about Frost though. And I said in my trailer breakdown, I don't know when this video is going up specifically, but earlier this week, that we don't really know what's going on too much with Frost as a character. So maybe Frost could die. I don't really want to push that too much because I just don't think it will happen. But she's the only one I don't think's been seen past this episode. So it's a possibility at the very least. And we know it's not Iris because there were some photos seen from this season, and we already knew that it was going to be a funeral this season just due to photos from set by actors, but we know at least two of the people that weren't going to be in that, like the person in the coffin at least at that stage, and that was both Allegra and Iris, as they were the two characters, or at least the actresses of the two characters posted photos, you know, in funeral attire and like around the time they're filming that episode. Now, I believe that this is actually the final episode of the current graphic novel or story arc that we're in. However, both Death Rises and Death Falls could feel more like the finale, but I think Eric Wallace has suggested, like the showrunner for the show, Eric Wallace, has suggested that this is like the full stop on that storyline. So even though there might not be like a lot of action or a lot of conclusion here, it's like the fallout before we move on to the next part of the season. So this would still be part of that storyline. This would be the official full stop and ending to the storyline. So I would count this as like the proper ending potentially, even though the previous two episodes could feel more like it. Maybe that's where a lot of the action and, you know, build up leads to. But here we lead into from what we know, are two interlude episodes. So Eric Wallace has said that there is 3 fun Flash fan-centric like filler episodes coming our way, or filler interlude episodes, which are 15, 16, and 17. That's what he suggested. We don't have the synopsis for 17. We'll get that later on. But we do have episode 15 and 16 here. And by the two titles, you'll be like, these sound interesting, but especially with episode 16, what the hell are they doing here? So episode 15 sounds pretty simple, and also we had set photos from this episode, so it definitely gives us a hint as to where they're going with this episode, even though the title is pretty self-explanatory. So episode 15's title is Into the Still Force, not Speed Force, Still Force. Now, this is actually the episode for this season that's actually directed by Eric Wallace. This is his first time he's directing The Flash, so yeah, and he said this is the quote-unquote weird episode, which blew my mind because I definitely thought the next one would be the weird one based off the title, but apparently this is the weird one, Into the Still Force. Now, this was the episode where that Zoom and Godspeed newspaper photo was seen, and this is also the episode where X, like the trailer for Jessica Parker Kennedy, who plays XS, was seen on set as well. So we get that Zoom and Godspeed newspaper thing going on. XS is in this episode, and we know this episode involves Barry in the Still Force, presumably with Dion Owens. They were seen on set as well. And I don't know if this is like them looking for Iris, or Iris has disappeared, because we know Candice Patton has just not been filming for ages on the show. So not too sure if this is going to be the explainer to that, or maybe this is the first episode without Iris in it for a certain amount of time. I'm not too sure. And also in regards to XS, I don't know if this is like the only episode she comes back for, but by the sounds of it, she's back for a bit longer, and maybe even like Bart's back as well. towards the end of this season. I'm not 100% sure what's going on. So I'm not sure if Excess is in an earlier episode than this that we haven't seen yet. But we know that she's in this episode, at the very least, episode 15. And finally, let's move on to episode 16, the final episode that we have the title for, and definitely has the weirdest title, and that is The Curious Case of Bartholomew Allen. Yes, now, first off, Katie Lotz, who plays Sarah Lance in the Arrowverse, she directed this episode because Legends had, finished filming its season like months before, so she directed this episode. So it's sort of cool when you have someone from another show direct your episode. Obviously, already had David Ramsey, who played Diggle, do it. Now we have Katie Lotz, played Sarah Lance, and also like Tom Cavanaugh, who played Eobard Thawne, has gone and done episodes of Superman and Lois as well. Now, obviously, the title of this episode, The Curious Case of Bartholomew Allen, is a play on The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which is a story about a man who ages backwards pretty much. So he's born, also when he's born, he's like, looks like an old man pretty much, but it gets younger as he gets older, if that makes sense. So he ages backwards. Now, I don't know or really think that we are going to see Barry go through this process. I mean, we could. It could be a weird episode, but Eric Wallace said he directed the weird episode of the season, which is episode 15. So unless he's just baiting us and lying and this is the weird one, I don't know. But it just seems a bit too weird. But it's important to remember, what is another word for backwards? And that is, of course, the word reverse. So instead of aging in reverse, like the Benjamin Button movie or the story, maybe this episode title maybe has to do with the reverse of Barry, which, of course, is Eobard Thawne. Now, we know that Eobard plays a big part of the overlapping stories this season. That's already been said in interviews to build up later into the season. And this is an episode going down as we do head into the final stages of the season. So maybe that's what this episode title is referring to. Now, how it plays out, that's another question. And I'm not saying it actually has Eobard in it, but just based off the episode titles, which do tend to hint at things in the episode, as you would think, that's the vibe I'm feeling. But you might have a different, understanding or, definition of what's going on here, or how you would break it down. So you can let me know in the comment section down below what you're thinking in regards to that. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it to go over. All these episodes have me very intrigued. The one I'm probably the least interested in is, I don't know, I'm interested in all of them because, 3 of them are the ending to the current storyline we're in. It sounds like it's going to be pretty crazy. And then we have Into the Still Force, which sounds cool. We know it's going to be interesting based off set photos. And then episode 16, the concept, at least based off the title, seems a bit wacky and weird as well. So I'm sort of looking forward to all of them, and none of them seem boring either. So yeah, I think I'm looking forward to all of them. I can't lie. I'll tell you the truth if there was one I felt a bit dodgy about, but they all look pretty cool to me. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions about everything we went over. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.